Okay, good morning and welcome to our February learning series, online learning series seminar. Today's topic is going to be FactoryTalk Design Hub. And again, today is the online version. We will be doing this as a live event, I believe, next week in Houston. I think is that Thursday, Mike? Next Thursday?
Yes.
Yeah, we will not be doing it live in New Orleans because, well, it's Mardi Gras week next week and no one's going to be working. So let's get started. So today our guest presenters will be myself, Wayne Welk. I'm automation specialist in New Orleans. Joining me is Mike Masterson, automation specialist in Houston. And we also have Ms. Sheila George with Rockwell Automation, a technology consultant with the software and control business. She will be the one who will be doing the live demo that we know will go perfectly well. So as we usually start our seminars off, we talk about what's coming up, as well as kind of what we've done before, because even in the previous seminars, we do record them and we share them on our YouTube page. So if you missed the session, you can always go back and watch them. The learning series is what we're doing today. This is usually our a little bit longer format session. Today is a design hub. Next month, in March 16th will be networks and a security update. So we'll have some good stuff there because there's some changes in the Stratix portfolio and a new switch coming out. So we'll have a good update there in March. Tech talks are usually a shorter form session, and a lot of times we're trying to highlight our other technology partners. Usually the learning series are around our Rockwell solutions, and our tech talks around our other technology partners. So we have two coming up here on the calendar. February 22nd, which is also next week, is an industrial security update with Clarity. And then in March, we're going to do another security topic with CrowdStrike. And if you watch the big game of the night, CrowdStrike actually had a commercial during the quote unquote big game. So it was kind of cool. It was one of the funnier ones, I thought. Another thing to talk about is we're going to talk a little bit about FactoryTalk Optix today, and we're going to have a roadshow coming up in a few months. April will be in Houston. It will also be in South Louisiana in May. That date isn't on this slide, but in May we'll have it in Baton Rouge, New Orleans as well. And I believe it's also going to Dallas and throughout the Texas region as well. So a hands-on event with FactoryTalk Optix coming up in the near future.
And for everyone in the Houston market, I believe if you go to our website, the registration for that is open. It will be a hands-on lab, just to make everyone aware. So this will not just be a talking lab. There will be some actual use of the software.
Yes. So today is going to be a little bit of a preview of that, a little bit, but then the hands-on event will be. Again, the workshop will be a hands-on event. Another thing to make a comment of, and I know it's only February and this is November, but Automation Fair is in Boston this year. And one of the big changes this year is that the traditional event, which was always known as Tech Ed and then was kind of renamed Rock Live over the last couple of years, that usually was an event in the summer. And it was usually in a nice location like Orlando or San Diego. This year, they're going to actually combine the Rock Live event with the Automation Fair event in Boston. So Automation Fair will be a little bit more of an extended week, and the technical sessions of Rock Live will be presented there at the Automation Fair in November. So it's very preliminary. We don't really know. There's going to be lots of questions on that. We don't know all the details, so just stay tuned. But just know if you're planning your travel and your calendar out for the year, these two events will be during 1 week in November and in Boston. Okay, so let's get into our topic. We're going to set up again the overhyped live demo. We'll set up the demo with a few slides here just to introduce what the Design Hub is. And it's kind of important to at least first see that the Rockwell's offering in the cloud is kind of being called the FactoryTalk Hub. So the hub is going to be the place to go for all of these cloud-based applications that you'll be able to use. The Design Hub is kind of the piece we'll talk about today, and that'll be the Design Studio and Optix, more specifically what we're going to talk about today. But there are other pieces to the cloud platform that you could potentially use. There's a software under the Operations Hub and under the Maintenance Hub, and these would be things like Fix and Plex, Arena, and various other kind of cloud-based applications. And as the year goes out, I know we'll be speaking more and more about all these various cloud applications. But again, today we will talk about the blue section there, which is the Design Hub. And more specifically, inside of the Design Hub are a few pieces. Design Studio is what we'll talk about here first, and then Optix Studio is what Mike will talk about here in a few moments. And what we're not going to talk about today is the Twin Studio. So that is basically the kind of emulating in the cloud. And part of the Twin Studio would be like FactoryTalk Logix Echo, being able to run that in the cloud, emulate 3D, the Arena software again for simulations and digital twin type stuff. So that will be a topic I know we'll tackle probably at a later date as well. But we'll look at the again Studio and Design Studio and Optix Studio, and kind of underneath those two is the Vault and Remote Access. So part of this Design Hub ecosystem per se is the Vault, which will be a cloud-based centralized storage location for your like ACD files and your projects will be stored in the Vault, and these applications can pull from that Vault to open up and work with. And then the bottom box is remote access. So part of the cloud vision will be that we can log in from the cloud, we can open up our applications in these studio environments, and we can remotely access to our equipment in the field, all from the cloud. The benefit and the vision, and it should be stated here at the very beginning, is that everything we're going to kind of, some of the things we'll talk about today may not be fully there yet. The general release of the Design Studio is is not up to the full vision of where Rockwell wants to take this, and it's going to kind of take some iterations to get there. So we'll kind of talk about what the vision is a little bit. But the idea of the cloud, for Design Studio is that it no longer, you're no longer kind of tethered to one computer and having to have the software and the license on that computer. You're putting your design tools in the cloud. So I can log in pretty much with any device with a Chrome browser, log into the FactoryTalk Hub, and be able to access the program, collaborate with other members of the team, and again, always logging in anytime, anywhere. And again, one of the advantages of cloud-based software is that it's going to be always kind of up to date in the current version and patched and everything by Rockwell. So you don't have to necessarily worry about maintaining your software licenses on your individual computer. So so we're talking about Design Studio here first, and basically Design Studio is bringing the Logix Designer pieces of Studio 5000 into the cloud, and this is actually available now in somewhat of a somewhat of a limited kind of first general release, but kind of the main tenets here are is cloud native software, but it's around having modern modern tools, modern workflows, having multi-user experience, true multi-user experience, and multi-controller experiences as well. And we'll kind of break each one of these down real quickly here in some upcoming slides. But again, Shayla's going to kind of log in and give us a little demo. So I'm not going to really show the pictures here. We'll let the demo kind of show you. But this is a bit of a screenshot that just kind of shows you that this is the cloud version of Design Studio, where you can actually build out your ladder diagram. In this initial release, ladder logic is the first language being supported. In future releases, which will come rather rapidly, the ability to do other languages will also be integrated into the platform. So we talk about modern, the idea and the vision of what Rockwell has here is to have a more modern programming environment, using tools that are more commonplace in software development, maybe outside of our traditional OT world. There's a lot of things like GitHub, things that our traditional OT space maybe that we don't really take advantage of, don't really use that much. So part of it is object-oriented programming concepts. There's going to be a thing called a smart object, where we can build smart objects inside of the Design Studio, and then basically having kind of multiple levels of code inside of these smart objects. You can have multiple routines, multiple programs inside of the smart object, and the key to that is I can reuse that smart object and is kind of put into a library and then reuse that code and kind of build it once and reuse it concept all within inside the hub. Integrated library management also is just around the reusability of the software and having one tool that can basically once again develop your projects and manage the reusable content all inside this one tool. And also inheriting the library updates without any imports or export required, is again it's all inside the same environment. And then, like we said before, it's browser-based, so it's anytime, anywhere. So you're, again, not necessarily tethered to, one particular laptop, and not even tethered to a Windows 10 box any longer. You just need a Chrome browser to be able to access the FactoryTalk Hub. When we say multi-user, the idea here is that we can use the hub to truly be a collaborative tool with multiple members of the team. And again, location is no longer a concern either, right? It's cloud-based. You can collaborate with people from all around the world within your organization or various partners working with you. So built in is integrated version control, or a version control system, or a VCS. Basically, we can track the project. We can look at the change history. We can compare the different points in history with that VCS type stuff. So that's just kind of baked right in. I mentioned GitHub earlier. So kind of under the hood, what Rockwell is going to really kind of put into this is that Git technology. So using Git to do the version control, to do commits, to do and at some point in the future, it's not in this initial release, but they'll even ability to do some branching. So if you're familiar with Git, if you've used it maybe in some other things that you've programmed with, the ability to kind of do branching and then kind of merge all these things back together again from various collaborators and compare kind of what was done. So bringing that ability into our automation control or automation programming. The native multi-user collaboration again, sharing these project updates with all the collaborators, automatically merging the changes across multiple users, and tracking the project status against against the main or the known good program, and then seamlessly changing those those changes, or sharing those changes. And the last piece here is the text to graphical language flexibility. So there's the ability to actually develop our code in a more text-based structure, but then it will actually render in a graphical format. So we can actually, a lot of people like to code like structured text or like to code in a text-based type language, but yet we all like to see it visually in a ladder type diagram. Usually it's easier to troubleshoot that way. So we'll have that ability here in the cloud version to render it graphically. And kind of that last kind of big tenet of the cloud-based design studio is multi-controller capability. And what we kind of mean by that is being able to have multiple controllers inside of a single project. So we're really looking at the looking at it as a complete system versus just an individual project or an individual controller. So we can kind of look at a complete system. The complete system might have multiple controllers within that system. We can kind of develop the code inside of one project. And then what we do is we can actually, choose which controller does that code kind of go to. And that's a little bit of that bottom that orange logical hardware abstracted design piece where we can actually, it doesn't really matter when we're building our smart objects or deploying them or our code. We can kind of take that and move it, kind of say, okay, this code here is going to go to this controller. This code here is going to go to another or second controller. So we can kind of organize it as a system level in a logical way in this one project. And then, one question I know that I had immediately on this, and I'm sure everybody else would have, is how do we kind of handle all this, the firmware issues and the firmware compatibility, and it will be able to support multiple firmware versions. Now, in its initial release that we're at right now, it's just going to be version 34 here in its initial release, but more and more firmware capability will come. So we won't be having to always be worried with, is the firmware in the field going to match what we have in the cloud? So again, some of this stuff is coming, and not necessarily in the initial release, but that is something that is obviously very important to be able to use this. So the next natural question is, well, what about Studio 5000? Well, that is not going to go away. Studio 5000 is still going to be, the software that you would want and use and to download. If you don't want to do cloud, then we're not going to force you. Rockwell is not planning to force you to go to the cloud. You still have Studio 5000 at your disposal. But if you want to take advantage of some of the abilities of the SaaS type offering, software as a service, if you want to have kind of again have the ability to have a cloud type solution, well, then Design Studio is definitely something to look at. It's also here in this initial general availability release, Studio 5000 is actually still going to be required to work with this, because here in this initial release, Rockwell is very they're sensitive to the fact that not a lot of customers are going to want to connect their controllers directly to the cloud. So here in the beginning, kind of a phase one approach is you can do your development in the Design Studio in the cloud, but then you would actually export that code out of the cloud, and then you would bring that into Studio 5000, and you'd make your connection to the Logix controller using that. But the vision the vision going forward would be, what if there was some sort of secure connection, such as some kind of secure VPN connection or secure remote access connection that would allow you to directly connect to your equipment or directly from the cloud. So this is, again, something that will be, this is coming. This is something that Rockwell will be working towards, but just know that this is the big vision of where we could take this. And last piece for me and on for the Design Hub is the Vault again. So there's been a recent update. So FactoryTalk Vault is integrated into Design Studio. So FactoryTalk Vault again is a piece of that Design Hub where we can actually upload our ACD files. We can store our programs that we're creating. And again, this is the Vault is a collaborative tool. We can have an organization created, and we can have multiple users in that organization. So we can, we can archive our projects there. We can collaborate and share them. And there's some additional benefits of Vault. I think we've talked about the Vault in some previous sessions, but inside the Vault we can run some analytics on our ACD files. We can see some of the things like the number of tags, the types of objects and things that are inside that project. So we kind of get some additional benefits to using the Vault versus just storing it up, in Google Drive or something. So that there's some inherent benefit to this. So before I turn over to Mike and FactoryTalk Optix, should also note that at initial release, this Design Studio is actually at no cost to use. So everybody can you just want to go out and take a look at it and kind of play around with the Design Studio concept. You can do so at no cost because, a general release, it's somewhat limited to begin with, being ladder logic only and some limitations. So it is available at no cost at the moment. That will change at some point in the future. All right, and with that, I will turn it over to Mike to discuss Optix Studio.
Yes. Good morning. We're going to talk a little bit about FactoryTalk Optix Studio. This is our new HMI platform. Now, some of the benefits that Wayne discussed in Design Studio also apply to FactoryTalk Optix. Basically, it helps collaboration by being up in the hub. Multiple people can touch the project, and we can also see what the change management is on it. So it has a lot of the same benefits that the Design Studio has, but it is a unique product. When you want to go to the next slide. This is just an overview of it, but what FactoryTalk Optix is, it's a new HMI system. It's not FactoryTalk View. It was developed between Rockwell Automation and Awesome, which is a company that is actually owned by Rockwell out of Italy, where a lot of the visualization hardware comes from. This is a software that was developed to be a multi-platform software. Wayne, next slide. So currently our HMI, we have the PanelView 5000, which utilizes the View Designer software that's built into Studio 5000. It has very, very tight integration. There is our traditional PanelView Plus and PanelView Plus ME applications, which are basically a machine edition applications running either on a PanelView or a PC-based control system. Nice thing about the thing with PanelView 5000 is the one limitation is it works directly with one of our controllers. It's very, very tight integration with it. But when you want to bring third-party devices into the HMI, you would have to bring them to the controller. So that's kind of a limitation on that. There's a lot of our projects that fits perfectly, but sometimes, especially in the Houston market where we have a lot of third-party Modbus connections and stuff, we needed something else. So that's where PanelView Plus comes in. Nice thing about it is it does have the Kepware drivers for the third-party controllers. So if we did have maybe a Modbus DCS that we needed to trade some information with one of our panel views, it makes it easy. Now, this new product, Optix Panel, isn't based on any of these. This is brand new. It's got OPC UA built into it, web clients, remote management, some reporting features. So it's a totally different product. It's actually been out for a couple of months now, but we're just now getting keyed up to talk about it. Next slide. So with Optix, one thing is doing it in the cloud. It gives you the ability to lots of design options. You have your collaborative workflows. You can test everything in the cloud, version management, check in, check out procedures. But the nice thing about it is it can be deployed in many different ways. It can be a standalone system, but it also can be a more involved client type architecture. So it can handle both the panel, the station, and the distributed type applications. Graphically, it's multi-language. It's a different graphic set than what's in FactoryTalk View, but there are different options for it also, and different drivers you can have it. The drivers are built into it, so this does not come with Kepware, but if you need a Modbus driver or some other protocols, you'll be surprised to find that it's already built into it. And the nice thing about it, the way this is licensed is you just pay for what you need. I don't think we're going over the pricing structure today, but I think you'll find this is very, very price competitive, even with some of our competitive products. And for people who like to script, it does natively handles C# scripting in it. So a lot of people, a lot of our competitive products are using that. We utilize it also. All right, Wayne, next. Now I want to make everyone aware is this is being a new product. We're just now starting to touch it and play around with it. I do want to point you, we showed that slide on April 12th. We will be having a hands-on lab on this. And just to let you know, there are other people, there are other labs that are going to be available. And if you get with your your Reynolds specialist, we'll talk to you about what your options for labs for if you want to play around with it. Because we want as many people to touch it as possible. Because I think we've been missing some market share, and this will help bring some of it back. Now, one thing we're planning on doing is actually bring this out pre-installed on a panel. That's what that Optix panel is. It will be an awesome like 6300 computer with the pre-installed Optix runtime into it. Again, just going over some of the things. This has MQT built into it. This will handle dashboarding. Some light dashboarding. It uses OPC UA and a C# interface. Where we actually see this is maybe for OEMs who are duplicating panels on a regular basis. This would actually fit very well for those applications. Now, Wayne, next slide. Okay, now I said the FactoryTalk View S and Optix are two different products, but there are times where they can actually coexist, and I think they actually make sense. And this is a lot of based on what the pricing structure allows. This could be if you have a View SE system, let's say a distributor or a standalone system, but you want to have do some cloud reporting, use your MQTT. Or do some basic dashboarding, something maybe that you would do with Excel Reporter or something. This could actually supplant some of those products and sit on top or with an SE system and just do that one small function. So it's got multiple uses here. And again, I know you're saying why put two HMI systems together, but we're just using this really has, in this particular case, it can be used as a cloud connector. So I think it does have a lot of uses in that, and I think we will be seeing some Optix on top of View SE coming up shortly. And a lot of the new programs love it just because it does program in C#, and a lot of programmers love to use that these days. And with that, I think, is that the last slide?
That is the last slide. So now it is time for the much anticipated demo from Shayla. So Shayla,
Which we know is going to run flawlessly.
Yes. So
because they always do.
Yep. So if you want to, I'll stop sharing if you would like to share your screen and take it from here.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to kind of go over an overview of FactoryTalk Hub and specifically the Design Hub. But this is what FactoryTalk Hub looks like once you sign in. So in order to access the site, it would be FactoryTalkHub.com. And once you get to the site, you would use your Tech Connect credentials, which you use to log into things like Knowledge Base. You use those to sign in. So I already have a Hub account set up and I have organization. So if you're a first time user, it would look a little different for you. But as a first time user, what you would need to do is you would have to create an organization. And this organization is, so if you would be the administrator of the organization, then you would be the one creating it. But if your company already has an administrator for the organization, then they would create the organization and then they can invite people within the company to the organization. So as far as creating the organization, on the menu tab, you have create organization, and then it takes you through the steps of creating your organization. So you put whatever the name of the organization is, whoever the owner is, you would put their name, and then as well as the email domain for your company. And so that is what ties to the company's Tech Connect account. So when you have entitlements, and entitlements is what you would use for the services you purchase entitlements, and that gives you rights to using the services inside of FactoryTalk Hub. So that's tied to the email domain. And so once you create the organization, you can have it as a public organization, or you can have it as a private organization where only people can join that organization in the event that you send them an invite. And so once that is done, then you have your organization created. And then from there, you can invite people to join your organization, and that would just be inviting the users. And then for that, you would put whatever service that if you want them to have complete rights to the full organization and all entitlements that are included with the organization, or if you wanted to break it down to just specific services that are inside of that organization. So maybe you have some people that you will only want them to have rights to being able to use FactoryTalk Optix, but then you have other people on the team that would need rights to Optix and remote access or any of the other services that your company has. You can select those, and then you select the role and put in the email addresses for each of those people that you would want to invite to the organization. And so once you invite them to the organization, they'll get an invite that they've been invited to join the organization, and they can join the organization. And from that point, they have the ability to utilize FactoryTalk Hub and the services available inside of FactoryTalk Hub. Here, this is entitlements. So the entitlements, as I mentioned, that's what you purchase to give you the rights to use any of the software that lives inside of the FactoryTalk Hub. So once you have purchased entitlements, then they would be displayed here. So as you can see, I have entitlements for Optix Studio Professional, as well as the remote access, and that's just showing here. So all of your entitlements would show there. Back at the home page, so let's see. So, and then also you can just, so as far as access management, this just shows, like, once you have people in your organization, it shows what services they are able to access. And for me, it's just showing all of the services that I have that I have the ability to access. And it also shows that I'm the owner of this organization. So this particular organization is just me. No one else is in this organization, but I could invite others. Now, you do have the ability to have multiple organizations inside of FactoryTalk Hub. And here, so aside from my own personal organization, I do have, I am a part of 2 additional organizations. So This is a Rockwell field and sales organization. And for this organization, you'll see, well, this is all of the apps that are available in the hub. And so anything that doesn't have a lock by it, that pretty much shows what I have access to as a part of that organization. So of course, FactoryTalk Vault, Remote Access, Fix, Optix, the FactoryTalk Design Studio, Plex, and all that type of stuff. And so if you can just go through several different organizations. So there's that ability. So here inside of, because our focus is Design Hub, so this is the Design Hub. And so as it was mentioned in the presentation, the services that are available in the Design Hub, you have FactoryTalk Vault, FactoryTalk Optix, FactoryTalk Design Studio, and then Studio 5000, Emulate 3D, and Arena. They are all part of the Twin Studio package. Here, this is FactoryTalk Vault. So if I was to go inside of FactoryTalk Vault and you select FactoryTalk Vault, and then it goes through this process of opening up. So this is my vault for FactoryTalk Vault, and you can of course see the several different organizations. So if I go to my personal organization, in the vault, you will see all of the different files that I have saved in my vault. And from here, you can select several of the different files. So like if I select this one and do the check mark, so I have the ability to open it in Logix Designer, or I have the ability where I can check for the analysis. So as Wayne was mentioning, you can see different analysis information as far as that particular controller. So, I mean, that particular ACD file. So it'll show what type of controller it is. It shows like the version of the controller, as well as it'll show like what hardware is in there, how many slots the chassis is, and then just project information. So like controller task, routine summary, number of tags you have and what type of tags, if there's any alarms or anything like that. So there's a lot of different information that you can see from the analysis of it. And if I was to go back to the main vault, in addition to that, you have the ability to you can upgrade the version. And so this is pretty simple without having to go inside, like open the file and change the controller version and all that. From the vault, you can actually upgrade the program file. So right now, it's at version 33. So if I wanted, I could update this particular file to a later version. And so I would just select upgrade, and then you would select what version you would want to upgrade it to. So if I select version 34 and click continue, and then I would confirm the upgrade, and it'll go through the process. As you can see, it's showing that it's upgrading. So it'll go through the process of upgrading that. And then once it's done, it'll turn green. So you'll have the green dot and it'll say ready. And then you'll see that it has the version 34 there. So while that's happening, in addition to that, so as it was stated, you can use Logix Designer, Studio Designer, or Studio 5000 in the cloud to make programming changes or develop a program. And with Studio Designer currently, you would put it into the vault, and then of course you would have to download it. So you can also download the files, and then once you download the files, then you can use it and download it to the actual physical controller. Let's see. Here, also inside of the vault, so I have an Emulate 3D file as well. So as I mentioned, Emulate 3D is part of the Twin Studio package, but if I check that, I could also open up this file with Emulate 3D. And so when you open it up with Emulate 3D, this is the pretty much pay for what you need or as you need it. So depending on what the size of that particular project is, you would select a small, medium, or large, and then it will tell you like the credits per hour that are needed. And then once that is, and I have actually have one open. It takes a little second to open up, but And so then this is just the emulate 3D file that I had stored in my vault, and I just opened it up. And of course, emulate 3D gives you the ability to emulate your physical plant floor, or like a line or anything like that. So you can develop your emulate 3D files and test them and do like the emulation, and that's just a simple emulation. If we go back to the hub, I'm back into the design hub, and so also there's, as I mentioned, so there's FactoryTalk Optix. So you can open FactoryTalk Optix from the hub, and I'll cancel this for now. So what happens is when you go to FactoryTalk Optix from the hub, you'll come to this page, and here you have the ability to open Optix in the browser. So that's the cloud version of Optix. So that's FactoryTalk Optix Studio Professional. You can open it from the browser, or you also have the ability to download it. And so this would be the Optix Studio standard version. And so you can download Optix Studio and install it on your laptop and use it. That's the version that allows you to do any development and testing and all that type of stuff on-prem, and that's the free version. But it doesn't come with the cloud capabilities of cross collaboration and user management and those sorts. Also, an important thing to note as far as for Optix, when it comes time for like sizing for your runtime application in the cloud, or on FactoryTalk, in the hub, there's a sizing tool. So it gives you the ability to size out your the application, picking whatever features that you would need for that particular application, and then you would know offhand what how many tokens you would need for that particular runtime. So it just walks you through, and you would select whichever features that you would need. And I'm just selecting some basic features, and you just click next, and you would select what type of, if you need connections to any third-party controllers or anything like that, and just clicking next and going through. And again, Optix is, it does support OPC UA, so client and server. So if there's a need for that, then you can select those. And then once you're done with your selection process of all of the features that would be needed in an Optix application, it'll output them all, and then it'll tell you what your what the total number of tokens needed, and give you the specified package that you would need for that particular application. And then you can go through and get the catalog number and go through the process of purchasing that. So that's a very helpful tool that's inside FactoryTalk Optix in the hub, and that's also available. There is a sizing tool on the standard version as well. And so I think I did have Optix. So you can also, like I said, you can open up the web version of Optix from the hub as well. And I do have that opened up. So here, okay. So here is, so I have Optix open up. This is opened up in the hub. So this is the web version of Optix. So you can open it, and then of course you would go through and creating a project, or if you already have a project, you can open that project, and so you can create a project and then do your development of the Optix application directly from the cloud. And again, these are all tied back into the Vault. And so from that, you can save it. You can have the library management, saving several different libraries in the Vault as well. So several people on your team can access and use it. And then let me change to a different. So this organization, it gives me access to FactoryTalk Design Studio. And so I can open up FactoryTalk Design Studio. This goes through the authentication process of opening up FactoryTalk Design Studio. I actually already have it open, so it's giving me that message. So this is FactoryTalk Design Studio, and so I have a file open, and it's just kind of lets you know. So this are the smart objects that Wayne was mentioning. So it has several different smart objects, and you can drill down, and then you can see several different rungs and programs and routines that are tied to it. And again, it looks your standard ladder logic. And so that's inside of the design studio. And of course you can push this or pull any changes that were made. And then of course you have the ability to, once you can convert, you'll convert the project. So then you would convert that to because right now you have to convert it to a Studio 5000. So once you're done, you can convert the Logix Designer project to Studio 5000. And so that's the ability for that. And I think so. I went through Optix and Design Studio, gave you a simple, this is a little preview. I do have a Studio 5000. Again, that's a part of the Twin Studio package, but this is Studio 5000 that's in the cloud. And so it looks like your normal Studio 5000 project inside of here. And of course, just the same, you can open up several different rungs and routines inside of it. And so that works alongside with Twin Studio. So the Emulate 3D and the Studio 5000, it's a web virtual image and gives you those testing capabilities. And that is, I believe that's pretty much all that I have. Let me just double check I didn't miss anything in the vault. Yep, that's it. So again, like you can go through, so this is a different organization, so it has those several different files and stuff in there. And then of course you can add new files or like create a new one or add a project. So if you already have some files that are on your computer and you want to add them up into the vault so that other people in your organization can have access to them and see them, that's how you would go through and add them and click add a project. And so now I'll turn it back over to Wayne and Mike, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Sheila. Yeah, so again, today was just a high level look at the Design Hub. And again, like we've mentioned a few times, in April and in May in South Louisiana, April in Texas, we'll have a roadshow that will come in town, and you can have a hands-on experience with all this. So we invite you to, if you're interested, to reach out to us and to sign up for those workshops. And with that, we do have a couple minutes. So if there's any questions, you can put them in the chat. You can raise your hand. We can.
Well, I'm not going to raise my hand, Wayne. I'm just going to talk because I'm that way. Hey, I just want to make sure I did not say this out loud, but all the runtime licensing for Optix is perpetual. There's not a subscription model. The only subscription component of it is the professional designer part of Optix. There is a charge for that, and let me see if I can share my screen really fast. Okay, I just wanted to show, as Shayla's going through it, you notice that Optix was token based. This is as you accumulate tokens for your project, this is where the pricing aspect comes for it. So let's say you have a project going to require 5 tokens. The license for the runtime is going to be $550 plus the $110 support fee for Rockwell support. The $550 would be a one-time. Like I said, it is a perpetual license. So as you go to more features, you can see that the price will increase as you add more capability into it. But this is the pricing model. But if you want to take a comparison and compare it to competitive products, I think commercially you're going to find that this fits a really nice price point. And with that, I will unshare.
Oh, one other thing that I would add, Wayne mentioned that Designer in the cloud is free right now. For Optix, if you wanted to play around with the capabilities for Optix in the cloud, there is a 90-day trial period. But again, outside of that, the downloadable on-prem version of Optix that is free, and you do still have the abilities to do the development and testing and stuff like that for that as well.
Wayne, that's all I have.
Okay, looks like it's quiet from the audience, so we appreciate everybody's time joining us this morning. We appreciate Shayla giving us a demo, and Mike for assisting with the presentation. And if you have questions, reach out to your local rental specialist team or account managers. We're always happy to help. And with that, we'll close it out. Appreciate everybody joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.